I'm Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium, and welcome to my channel. We do a lot of paper crafts, really focusing on cards and albums and folios. So if you are new here, welcome. I really hope that you will consider subscribing. And if you are returning, welcome back. I really appreciate your support. So today we are doing a slide and lock card. Not really a new style, but one that I really love. And I was looking for items that I could possibly use for Easter, spring, Mother's Day kind of vibes is what I'm going for. And so I'm using the G45 Woodland Friends, which we have in store. And if you're not aware, I also run an online store that has all kinds of paper specific, hence Fabulous Paper Emporium. But we do have a lot of other supplies that can be used for scrapbooking, for album making, card making, you name it, paper crafts in general. So I'm going to show you, if you're not familiar, I'm going to show you really quickly the collection. And so I'm just going to set my cards aside. And so this collection, what we have in store, we have a fabulous 12 by 12 collection pack. And in this, you get 2 each of 8 different double-sided papers. And then you also get 2 6 by 12 sticker sheets. And their sticker sheets go so beautifully with the collection. I will show you, I actually have the loose sheets as well. So I'll show you the sheets really quickly. It also comes in an 8 by 8 format, which is the same patterns, just shrunk down a bit, which is also a fabulous pack. And for this one, you get 3 of each of the 8 by 8, 3 each of the 8 different designs. And so you don't get any stickers with this, but they do make it up. They do make up for it. If I would just slow down. They do make up for it by offering some additional paper. So that is fantastic. And then we also have the awesome chipboard pieces that go along with this collection. And these are, again, they're a little bit thicker. They add some dimension, obviously add a lot of interest to your projects. So to go through this collection really quickly, it's not very often because we're online. We don't do a lot of the sheets, the separate sheets. And for this collection, I did because I love it. So we have our title sheet, which is got beautiful. Woodland Friends. It's all about the woodland creatures. So we've got deers, foxes. I apologize. That's the puppy. Deer, foxes, raccoons, owls, and of course, all this lovely foliage. We've got a beautiful plaid. We have a first page of cut aparts. So these either have the 6 by 4 cut aparts or the 3 by 4 cut aparts. And depending on how much you want to keep of the beautiful designs around the outside, you can make them a little bit narrower, a little bit shorter. And I'll speak to that a little bit because we're going to use this one today, but not in the 6 by 4 format. We've got beautiful, vibrant fox design on the back. Another cut apart, and this is something that G45 is kind of known for, is having a page that you can totally cut apart. So you can use this strip, you can use it with the bunnies, without the bunnies. You've got some really cute little sayings at the top. Same thing with the foxes. There is a ton that you can cut apart here. So really works well. And you have another beautiful plaid on the back. This floral, which I've used for some of my other cards that I'll show you right now. Well, I'll show you as soon as I've done this. This beautiful floral with a lovely foliage on the back. This cute bunny paper, which I absolutely love. And a pink floral on the back. And then we have like a quilt kind of paper that has little bits of just about all the B sides to this paper collection, with, of course, another plaid on the back. And then we have a vibrant, so kind of taking the fox paper that we had seen with this little guy, and now we've included all the other cute little friends. And then we have a tone-on-tone green on the back with, again, using the foxes, raccoons, squirrels. And then we have our, I think this is our last one. Yeah, the squirrels. So cute little mischievous squirrels with the odd bird, and then a tone-on-tone blue with just the squirrels. So that's kind of what the collection looks like. The color palette definitely lends itself to spring, which means Easter, which means Mother's Day, which could mean any occasion. Cute for a baby shower or welcoming a baby. You can use this to, you know, cover a lot of different occasions. So the slide and lock card. Well, this is basically what it looks like. So I've used one of the cut aparts and I've shrunk it down a bit. I cut away some of the excess and used some more of this beautiful foliage or floral pattern. The same thing that I did in the back. So this actually slides up. It's a mechanism that's keeping the card closed. So it's a gatefold that has, instead of a belly band, that has this slide and lock mechanism. So I'll show you how to make that, obviously. So when that slides off, then you open to reveal the inside. And I had little bits left over of that beautiful floral, so I just kind of tied that all in on the inside of the card. I did go from side to side. I'm using this lovely kind of shimmer paper. And so to make it easier to stamp or write, I used just a flat matte ivory cardstock on the inside. And I put my pattern to go from side to side. So I'm right at the bottom and it goes from side to side. I'll show you a variation of that today and we'll go through all the measurements. What I also did want to show you, because my orientation for this card was very much portrait. The base of it is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So you do have the ability to kind of mess around with the orientation. And what I wanted to show is this one. So a couple of things that I've done is I removed this first layer and just have gone with one layer, which is totally possible. So that's an option for you. The reason why I did that was because I didn't want to cut this pattern down any more than it already is. And I'm just looking for it because it was actually a 6x4 cut apart, which I'm looking for. So we used this, but then I cut it down just with the focal point on the bunny rabbits. And I cut that to make sure that I had a border. Of course, could have made it a little bit bigger, but then I would have cut the carte postale. I would have cut that off, and I wanted to, you know, either have it in or not have it in. So I went with the option to not have it in at all. And that's what that's left me with. So you do have a lot of options. I'm going to give you all the measurements. The only thing I'm going to leave out right now is the inside. So this mechanism is just done in a different orientation. So that's all I've done. And when I go through the measurements, I'll make sure that I note that. And this is what I did on the inside. So again, just cut the, I had leftovers, and so I've cut them in 1/2-inch strips to put at the top and the bottom, and just to kind of finish up and tie everything in together. And I think I had that upside down. Yeah, those flowers are supposed to go like that. Anyhow, so we are going to start off by going through our base measurements. So for the base of the card, it's got more options there. So I'm using slightly different paper, still staying in the same Woodland Friends. And so for your base cardstock. So whatever color cardstock you're wanting to use, I'm sticking with this kind of champagne-y gold shimmer paper. Your base is going to be cut at 11 by 5.5, and we'll be scoring this in just a minute. You'll also need 4 pieces of the same color, and this is going to create your mechanism. So 4 pieces, and these are all cut at 3.5 by 4.5. And then if you were doing a smaller, so like this one, I wanted to use a second layer to make sure that I had kind of a coordinating. I wanted to show a difference between the top layer and the floral. So I decided to put another piece of the shimmer paper. And this piece is cut at 2.5 by 3.5. So those are all of our base pieces. And then for our designer paper, everything on the outside. So we have 2 pieces that are cut identically. Just thinking, I have these in the right spot. So these are both cut at 2.5 by 5.25. And so yeah, those are identical. And then I'm going to use this beautiful pink as my bottom layer for my mechanism. And this one is cut at 3.25 by 4.25. And then, well, I should put this way because that's how I'm making this one. Yeah, is this way. So sorry, this one would be then 4.25 by 3.25. In case your pattern is directional, it's important that I obviously correct that and make sure that you know which way the pattern should be going. And then my cute little bunny, which I actually cut out of the title page, just because I wanted a bunny rabbit and I wanted, you know, I wanted to show that you could just cut something out. If you wanted a focal point off the title page, right, they're kind of large, but if you're working with the 8x8, you could certainly get away with this. I cut him out, the one at the very bottom, and so really wanted to focus on him. So he's going to be my top layer, and this guy is cut at 3.25 by 2.25. Excellent. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it for now. There are a couple of more pieces for me to go through, but I will explain those in a moment. Okay, so we're going to get to scoring. So what we need to score is we're going to score our big piece that is 11 by 5.5. We're going to take 2 of our 4 pieces that are 3.5 by 4.5, and we are going to be scoring those as well. So I'm going to get out my scoreboard, and we're going to do the large piece first. So with the 11 inches across the top, we are going to be scoring at 3 3/4. And we're going to go over to 8 1/4. These are going to create our 2 gatefold panels. I'm going to keep that out because I have misplaced my bone folder for whatever reason. And then I'm going to grab, so here is where you're going to have to make a decision, if you haven't already, how you want this to go. Are you going to want it to go in a landscape or portrait? Today I'm doing landscape, and so I'm going to be scoring these in half. So with the 4.5 across the top, I'm going to be scoring this at 2 1/4. And I'm going to do that to my second piece as well at 2 1/4 with the 4.5 at the top. If you are doing it in portrait, then again, you're going to follow the same instructions. I'm not going to score this, but you're going to put your 3.5 at the top, and you're going to be scoring this at 1 3/4 inches to get it to fold in half. And that is the only difference, is how we're putting together the mechanism. So we've done all of our scoring. I'm going to grab my score mat, and we're just going to fold all of our score marks. So for the bottom piece, we have a side that is indented and a side that is raised when it comes to the score marks that you just created. I flipped mine over so it's raised on this side, and that's the side that I want to use. So I'm just making sure that everything lines up properly. And I'm going to give this a burnish. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, make sure it lines up. I'm not worried about whether or not they meet, although the chances are it's going to be a pretty good match and they're going to meet up pretty decently. There's a little tiny bit of a gap. What we are going to need to do though now is to slice off just a little bit. We need room for the mechanism to slide in. If I bring back in my original, or my sample, I should say, of course, I have no little pieces. I'll use this. Maybe you'll be able to see. So if I slide this in, you can see that there is a gap. The gap here is, I don't think it's quite, no, it's like a 1/16 of an inch. So really not a lot. So you're going to just, like when I say just shave a little bit off, I legitimately mean just a little bit off. So what I'm going to do for my piece here is I'm going to bring in my cutting board. I should have brought it in first, but it required the explanation. So my paper trimmer, rather, cutting board. My paper trimmer is goes by 1/16. So I am going to go just in between, like just a hair in from 11 inches, right? Because this is 11 inches long. I am just going to shave a little bit off, right? It's not even a lot. Like really, it is so minute, but it makes a huge difference. So I did that off of one side, and whatever I did to one, I want to do to the other. And this time I'm going to line it up with the 10 and 15/16. I hate 16ths, but we got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to shave off a little bit off of this side. So, you know, the two little bits are going to make a huge difference. Okay, so now that we're done with that, all the fidgety stuff is kind of almost over. So now we have a decent enough gap that we'll be able to put our slide and locking mechanism in. All right, so this part is done. And now we're going to go to making our mechanism. So the two pieces that you have that were scored, we're just going to fold those and burnish them really well. And again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of folding in where we had our I don't know where my brain is gone, but where we had our little, you know, raised part, that's where I folded. So that's on the inside. So now we have two pieces that are like this. Okay, one piece there. And if I can open this piece, one piece there. And that's basically how we're going to apply them to our other pieces. The two other pieces, if I would stop picking up other pieces, these two pieces are going to go one on this side and one on this side. And that's going to create our locking, slide and locking mechanism. Let me just show this to you from that vantage point. So this is what it looks like, right? We've got our front. This bit in here is what's going to slide in between the little gap that we have in our gatefold. So that's going to work out marvelously. That is our magic for today. Okay, so I'm going to apply some score tape. You can certainly use glue. However, you know, it's a mechanism that's going to be handled quite a bit. I would feel personally just more comfortable using my score tape. So that's what I'm going to do.
If you would like to put on some glue on top of that, just to add a little bit of, so you have some time to kind of mess around with the application, then go ahead. Absolutely, I would encourage that, because it will make it so that score tape, if you've ever used it, is quite... it's quite sticky. It's quite sticky is the word. And by being quite sticky, you don't often have to press on it in order for it to make contact, which means you're usually just kind of you're committed at that point to going with wherever it's landed. And all too many times have I accidentally applied it to, the wrong side, an ink, or it's crooked, or what have you. So the reason why I also like the scoreboard is it has a little lip at the top and at the sides. So what I can do is I can place my card down. So this is 4.5 across the top by 3.5. I'm going to grab one of my folded guys. So remember, the fold is on the inside. So I'm going to be applying this guy right to the edge. So I have it tilted so there's no score tape that's come in contact. I can move this freely. I am lining it up at the side and at the top, and that way I can just push it down and you're done. And the only tricky thing to applying this one is butting it up against what you've already applied. So I'm just going to peel the adhesive backing off. Easier said than done. And then I'm going to apply this. And then we're just going to go through the same application. Oh my word. Okay, there we go. We're going through the same installation of these, right? So making sure that you have the folded side is going to go on the inside. And then again, I'm going to bring it to the top just to make sure that I don't kind of move it. It's not the end of the world. If it's a little bit off, take your scissors and trim it. It's totally fine. So there we have part of our mechanism. We just need to apply the other unscored to this side to make a nice finished look. So again, grabbing my score tape, and if I can get it started. All right. You don't need a lot of score tape. I think I'm using the 3/8, which is like my go-to. Love the score tape, which we also have in our store. It's one of the brands we absolutely love here. All right, and I'm going to peel all 4 strips, because now we're just applying one whole sheet. Okay, come on, you can do it. You can. There we go. Okay, perfect. And again, I'm just going to line that up at the top. I'm going to grab my unscored piece. Actually, when I was kind of playing around and making my other cards, I found that removing it, because now we're going 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th layer. And while the lip is quite nice and generous, it gets a little bit tricky, at least with my fingers. So I just want to make sure that I am lined up properly at the top and at the side. So I'm going to push that down and apply it. But removing the score mat, you're not scoring it, so you're not damaging your paper at all, but it does give you a nice lip at the top and at the sides. So that's great. But like I said, if you have any bits that are overhanging or that you need to take your scissors out and trim it a bit, by all means go ahead. Whoops. You can. I've got a little tiny bit right here.
you really want to go with the best side. So it's the same thing either side. So whatever looks to be the best, just kind of go with it and you're good. You are good. Okay, now comes the fun part to start applying our layers. And then once our layers start, then, you know, the card is just moments away from being finished. So I'm just grabbing my glue. So my mechanism, I'm just going to stick that up there for a second. So I'm going to layer up my little bunny rabbit. And I did this before we started. It's not quite as noticeable with this little bunny rabbit guy, but I did ink all of my edges. And if that's something that you're not familiar with, it is taking some ink and one of these sponge dabber thingies. So in this case, I'm using the Distress Oxide. That's what it says under that blob. The Distress Oxide in the Vintage Photo, which is like one of my favorites, which we also have in store, of course. You can see it really here, there, where I've taken the sponge dabber. And even though I've done it here, you're just going to brush lightly on the edge. And most, if not all, at least all of the paper that I carry has a white core. So this kind of gets rid of that. It magically makes it disappear, because all you're really doing, and I did tilt it a little bit more so I had kind of that weathered vintage look. So you've got a little bit of brown. You're not looking to get it firmly on there. You just want a light brushing, but primarily the reason is to get rid of that white core. And it also, like I said, also adds kind of a vintage feel, which works exceptionally well in this with this collection. So I've got this one done. Now I'm going to layer my floral, and then this guy is going to layer on top of that. Okay, so I'm going to apply my glue. All right, make sure I've got this on correctly. So the nice thing about the liquid glue is you do have a little bit of wiggle room. So when I'm using the paper, I usually prefer to, especially the designer paper, I prefer using the liquid glue over the other stuff, the score tape. Okay, and then again, two options, and I do have two to show you. So I did one where the top piece I used a little bit of foam tape or foam squares, and that just elevates the top piece a little bit. So again, if you're giving the card, like hand delivering it, then add a little bit of dimension to your work. You can do that simply by adding some of this foam tape, or if you have foam circles or foam squares or whatever kind of foamy business you have. If you don't have foam, you can always use some chipboard. If you have chipboard laying around, then I would just cut it about a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch smaller than what you're going to be layering it underneath, and you're good to go there. So I've often used chipboard, especially on albums where you want it to be a little bit more secure and hopefully not get torn off. Although with albums, I do rarely put on lots of dimension, because my thought is if I put it on a bookshelf, chances are it will get torn off. So I want to be careful with that. Okay, so I'm going to peel this off and then carefully layer this up, making sure that I have it as close to center as possible. And so there's our little guy all installed on our mechanism. And the only thing we have left to do, there's two parts. We're going to add our panels to either side. And I did use this cute little bunny paper and take our glue, apply this. If ever you have any questions or comments, I love to read comments, and if you have, like I said, any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Then you can put them in the comments below. If you like this video, you can give me a big old thumbs up. That really helps also a lot. And there was one more thing I wanted to say, and now I can't remember. Anywho. Okay, so now we've got our beautiful bunny paper all down. And the last part is on the inside. Okay, so this won't change. If you were going to put a piece on the inside that coordinates with the rest of the paper, that's great. You can put something on the inside. This piece that I cut of the ivory is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So that's going to be going down there. Great. What I mentioned earlier was the two pieces at the top and the bottom. So these pieces I did to go from side to side. There's no gap. So these two pieces, if you like that look, are 5 1/4 by 1/2 inch. And I cut 2 of those. I just cut them from what was left over from the paper that I was using. Did the same thing here. This is the cute little bunny paper. This is the back side of that. Only this time I cut it just a bit short. So instead of being 4 1/4, it's actually, instead of being 5 1/4, it's 5. So there's a 1/4 inch short at either end, or 1/8 of an inch shorter at either end, which means I'm also going to lift it up a little bit from the bottom, so I have a nice little frame around 3 sides. So this is how this is going to go down. Just applied some glue to the bottom, and again, liquid glue, love it, because if I wanted to move it over, I have got a few seconds to make up my mind and get it moved over. So that is how that's going to look, and I'm going to add the same thing to the top, just with a little swirl of glue. So it gives you 2 different looks, and you can easily decide which one you prefer. And then I'm just going to apply this to the inside of my card. We're going to attach or slide in our mechanism, and we are good to go. If you prefer stamping, of course, go ahead and stamp your sentiment or write your sentiment before you put this piece in. This way, if you make a boo-boo, you're only changing one part of your card and not having to remake it. Then again, if you glued this piece in, but not these 2 pieces, you could always cut and put another piece down. That is totally acceptable. Not that I've ever done that. Anyhow, so now we've got our little sliding lock mechanism. So initially, it's a little bit challenging. So what I do is I'll stick my 2 fingers in. And of course we've got our middle piece that is all secure. So I'll slide in the one part of the gatefold and then just put in the other side. And as you slide it down, we have our slide and lock card. So this is what that one looks like with the landscape option. And this is what it looks like with the portrait option. So it gets applied the exact same way, the exact same method of working with the mechanism or creating the mechanism. And that's what it looks like with the portrait. I am so super glad that you decided to join me today. Thank you so much. Again, I hope to see you again sometime, hopefully very soon. If you would like to subscribe, that would mean the world to me. And as we approach, I mean, we're still like a couple hundred of subscribers away, but share with your friends. But as we approach 1,000, I am trying to come up with like the best giveaway ever. So once we hit 1,000, you know that will be coming up. So please do share with your friends. I would love that. If you have any questions, like I said, put them below. That would be awesome. I will link all the product, all the information, the piece sizes, the dimensions, everything will be in the description box below. If you would like to visit my website, it's www, of course, that is already, it's already shown you how old I am. Anyways, the website is fabulouspaperemporium.com. And that is it for today. Hopefully you have enjoyed my video. You have found something maybe new. Hopefully you are inspired to go out and make your own creations. If you have, then you can certainly share them with us on our Facebook page at Fabulous Paper Emporium. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you so much. Stay safe and well. Bye.